A lot of customers want to move from one color metal to another color metal. It refreshes the whole idea. I find currently, as we're sitting right now, a big movement back to 18 karat yellow gold, which is what I've done with these two rings. I created them largely in a similar fashion, but not too similar. They were two individual rings, and we're going to give them two individual identities. My name is Jaco. Behind the camera, as always, is Damia. Thank you for joining us. So these are the two rings that came in, and they've now worn down to a point where they're quite thin. There's a little bit of a problem with the one stone, as you can see right here. We're always going to start with trying to analyze it. So I've looked at the previous rings, what I don't want from them. I'm looking at the stones now, and I'm making some notes. When I make the baskets, I effectively make them exactly the same size to start off with as the actual stone's shape. I've got an octagon shape and I've got a square shape. I'm going to run this one slightly different. I'm going to move between the two rings because I made both of these rings at the same time. It's actually not rectangular, but I'm making a rectangular setting because it covers the top and the bottom and it covers the sides, and the little bits that creates the angle at the end I'm going to file flat so that I can put my claws on over there. I'm soldering everything, just by the way, with hard solder, the hardest I can get. I've got one square and one rectangular setting. The square one is going to go into a punch. The walls are flat, the way I've made them. Yeah. So when you're putting into an angled thing, it's going to sort of sit there halfway sticking out. Okay. So I'm forcing it in. It's going to distort the metal, but remember, by making it an absolute square from the beginning, makes it easier on the metal. From the straight line that I filed at the top, because I filed it flat with the actual punch, I can mark exactly the depth that I want. And this is the side profile. Remember, I made those notes beforehand. I drew those little sketches, so I know exactly how big I want that to be in relation to the entire ring. My approach to the second setting with the octagon is slightly different. I'm not going to punch this one, I'm actually filing this one. If you have your wire over here where the stone lies on the inside of that, I started filing that out. And I filed that out so that I could drop my stone, sort of pre-setting it in a way. Looking at the angle and seeing how high I want the relationship from the top of the setting to the girdle of the stone. Once I've got this angle filed in like this, I can then mirror the outside angle on the inside angle. The stone now lies at a certain depth. I've got the thickness of the setting at a certain depth. I have the ring thickness over here, and then the difference of this little section over here I've got to calculate. And I make little gold bars separating this distance, and I add them in and just tack them with the laser in this case, but you can put a tiny little pinprick of a piece of solder down there if you wanted to. That's how I used to do it. I made these little shanks, and what I've done is I've created the sizes that I needed. Then I marked the little area where I'm going to remove for this little section that lies underneath each one of the beds. So I remove that section out over there, and I mark down from that area from where I want the split to be coming up. And that little section that I've cut, I then cut out and I've filed down so that I have a consistent flow. I'm spending time making sure that everything fits as it should, and I'm now bringing it together by putting those little spaces in, tacking it again temporarily. By tacking the bars just ever so slightly, I can now remove them. I'm cutting them out and I'm moving and wiggling them out because I didn't do a full solder on these. I probably laser tacked them, so they're just ever so slightly connected, and I make them in this way just to serve their purpose so that I can remove them again. I often make myself these little sanding discs out of my own sandpaper, which means I can choose the paper I want to use, and it also gives me a little bit more flexibility. I use this masking tape, this blue masking tape on the back of it to give me a little bit more rigidity, and then I get, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect sanding disc. I'm going to split these claws and make them slightly different. The emerald cut shaped ring provides me with flat angles, so I want to bring a flat plate onto this one, and with the square one, which I'm going to be doing talon claws on, I want to bring a little bit extra design into it. So a tapering claw does that. It sort of brings it up from the bottom, presents it really well. It doesn't do anything to the strength because I'm not going to go thinner than what I should be going. Make sure that these are all the same diameter, all the sort of same taper. I bend them into shape, making sure that the angles are exactly the same. What I'm doing now is I'm taking a tiny little ball phrase and creating a little groove. The movement of this is up and down, so it's not going to run this way and that way, but it does create a little fingerprint, a little area, a little guide for the parallel phrase to come in. This was a fun project to do because it was sort of like juggling between the one and the other. You know, when you get involved with these things, your head goes towards the end and you start breaking it down and you visualize step by step towards the next step. And in this case, it was like I had to do a little bit of this breakaway, a little bit of something like that, but it wasn't going far off from what I was doing because I was doing the same thing, just different applications the whole time, which made it very interesting and I enjoyed it. And these were the products. This was how it came out. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share the video, bell icon, and also find us on Instagram under Jaco the Jeweler. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. That's the end of the video.
That's it.